Jason Robinson is an urban explorer and paranormal investigator, and the founder of Ohio Exploration Society, which can be explored more at www.ohioexploration.com. He's here today to share with me some stories of urban exploration and the unexplained. Welcome to Craft, Jason.
Thank you.
So tell me, how did you become a paranormal investigator? What's your background in that?
Well, I've always had an interest in the paranormal. Growing up, watching shows like Unsolved Mysteries and things like that. I had an experience in college. I went to Denison University.
Which is supposed to be quite haunted, right?
Yeah.
Not like our own Ohio State with no ghosts. Denison is just overrun with ghosts, right?
Ohio State has plenty too. But Denison, yeah, I was in my dorm room one night. My roommate was out. I was typing up a paper, and I felt a hand on my shoulder, like someone was leaning over me at my desk to see what I was doing. And I turned around and no one was there. And I kind of freaked out and wondered, should I get up and run or should I stay here and act like it didn't happen? And I got up and left. And
you chose the discretion, the better part of valor. Is that it?
Right.
The running out of the room. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I went out. I got to thinking about it. I never did tell my roommate about it. I went back later and it was like,
just left your roommate to suffer.
Yeah,
then. Okay.
I was like, if you want to mess with someone, mess with him.
Good.
So,
nice. Throw him under the bus.
Yep. But anyway, that got my interest in it. And then when I started doing the urban exploration stuff, doing research on the places I was going to, it was, I found out some of them were haunted and kind of got into it more that way and looking into the different kinds of equipment and techniques and things like that.
So tell me about some of the different techniques and equipment. Let's shift over to urban exploration for a little bit. What exactly is urban exploration, and how is that different from going and visiting someplace as a tourist?
Right. Urban exploration, generally you go to abandoned places, abandoned buildings that are not open for tourists. There's several B&T Metals in Columbus. It was on the in Franklinton area. They did work on the Manhattan Project there. And it was pretty cool. That was one of my favorites. But the urban exploration aspect of it, it's not always you don't always have permission to be there.
Right.
We always try to find a way in that's already been open. We always ask for permission if we can find the right people to ask to get in. But it's just about going somewhere that is abandoned. It could have a risk of being torn down and forgotten altogether. Mm-hmm. And we try to go and take pictures of these places and do research to post them online so people will actually know about them and have some sort of memory of them online. Okay.
So what kind of responses have you gotten from posting the things online? What all do people say back to you? Do they relate their own experiences at these places, or are they always just sort of surprised that somebody else is doing it?
Well, as far as the urban exploration.
Right.
Online, a lot of the responses I get, I have some people that email me and say, oh, yeah, I remember this place. And then they'll tell me a little bit about their stories. Most of the time I get emails from people wanting me to go check someplace else out that was nearby the place I just checked out. Mm-hmm. But it's all about being there at the right time to be able to go in or find someone that can let us in. Like I said, we always try to get our permission first, and then if we can't or there's no one to give it, we find a way in.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of the paranormal exploration that you've been doing, and tell me about some of the places maybe in town, maybe B&T, maybe the Ohio State University, that you found and felt like there was a presence there that you couldn't explain, like the hand on your shoulder.
Okay. There was we did an investigation at the Greater Columbus Antique Mall on High Street. Okay. And through our research and talking to the owners there, we found out it used to be a funeral home and a restaurant and I think a Elks Club.
Wait a minute, a funeral home and a restaurant?
At different times.
Right. But that seems like two buildings that wouldn't that would be very difficult to share a space, right? Like, and
Right.
not even if they're not at the same time. Like, if a funeral home seems like such a different space than a restaurant, but I guess if it's large enough,
Yeah, it's
know.
a pretty big building.
Okay.
But we went there and we did our investigations. You're supposed to see a woman come up the stairs in one part of the building. We didn't see that. But we did get some EVPs recorded, and
Okay.
that stands for electronic voice phenomenon, which are voices that can be from the dead.
Okay.
I'm not, of course, no one knows for certain what they are.
Okay.
But it's voices that we record on our audio devices that we don't hear when we're there, but we hear when we play back the tapes.
Okay. So I know that you brought some of those to play. Maybe you
I
can
did.
describe a couple of those, and we'll play them while you're talking. So tell me about that.
One of them is from Greenlawn Abbey. It's also in Columbus. They're off of Greenlawn Avenue near Harmon.
Okay.
And we went in there one night to do an investigation, and we captured a voice of a little girl. It sounds like a little girl saying Nana on the tape.
Mm-hmm.
And, there were three of us guys there. No one could have made that voice, and I assure you there's no little girls around there at,
Mhm.
Midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever time we were there.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember some of the specifics from the Greater Columbus Antique Mall. I think one of the EVPs on there is actually from our camera. We had a camera set up on stage, and all of us were in a room far away from the camera. And right up close to the camera, you hear a whisper right into the microphone of a guy saying, "Harry." And that one, I almost fell off the couch when I was reviewing that one. I was like, whoa.
That's got to be the best part, right? I mean, you go there and maybe nothing happens, nothing that you see, and then afterwards there's something where you get to hear that when it's late at night. Hopefully you're reviewing the tapes, the hours and hours of tapes, just to find that one moment where something will be attempting to frighten you to death.
Right. Yeah. And it's hours and hours and hours of going over, because you got to figure the whole time you're there, you're recording, and usually we have more than one device recording. So like the paranormal TV shows, you don't see that on those shows.
The hours of board.
How long it takes you to go over everything and come away with like 10 seconds when you spent 12 hours of listening to audio.
So what do you feel is the most paranormally active place in Columbus, since this is on Halloween? What is your favorite go-to to be frightened?
Actually, I don't have a favorite location in Columbus per se.
Okay. Where's your favorite location
my
overall?
My favorite location in Ohio would be Moonville Tunnel down in Zaleski State Forest.
Okay. What is Moonville Tunnel?
Moonville Tunnel is an old railroad tunnel. Moonville was established in the mid-1850s or so.
It's got the right name to be haunted.
It does. And there's been several deaths that, through research that I found occurred there. One in particular was a rail worker who was decapitated, and he was swinging his lantern trying to get the train to stop. And there's all kinds of different jobs he had. Some people said he was the brakeman. Some people said he was the signal guy. But whatever the legend is, you're supposed to see his lantern swinging.
Mm-hmm. So have you seen this lantern swinging? Or
we have seen like a lantern light there before.
Okay.
Probably my most intense paranormal experience I've ever had in 15 years of doing this happened there in 2004. So just about 10 years ago now. I was there with a documentary crew, and we got there at dusk, set up in the middle of the tunnel. We were standing back to back to back. It was getting dark. We were standing back to back so we could see all around the tunnel. We had eyes on the whole thing. Well, night settled in, and the documentary crew was kind of freaking out because they heard water dripping coming from one end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "That's just water, guys. Don't mind that." So I look down to the other end to see, what's going on in that, and that's when I see a little speck of light, almost like a firefly, but it stayed lit, if that makes any sense. So I looked at it for a few seconds to know what I was seeing, turned and said, "Hey guys, I see a light down here." Turned back, it was gone. So we're all standing there, about 10-15 seconds passed or so, and we hear this scuffling sound coming down the hill outside of the tunnel, and then very distinctive footsteps on the rail bed, all the gravel, to the middle, and then a run straight toward us. Now, I mean, it was echoing, booming in this tunnel. So, at that point, I wasn't thinking ghost or, anything like that. I was thinking we're about to get attacked by someone or something out here in the middle of nowhere. Took out the flashlight, turned it on. The running immediately stopped, but a fog rolled in, and I couldn't see to the end of the tunnel. So I said, "All right, guys, let's go." So we go walking toward where the running had been. And as we get to the end of the tunnel, the temperature dropped about 15 degrees. We had an EMF meter that detects electromagnetic fields. That meter went all the way up to the top and stayed there. There was a thick static electricity feeling. All the hairs on my arms were standing on end. So I said, "Guys, it's right here. It's right here." And then one of my guys said, "Do you smell that?" And I said, "Yeah." And it smelled like this old musk cologne. And at that point, the documentary crew took off running back through the tunnel. And I ran after them, grabbed them, and pulled them back and said, "Come back. This is what we came for." Get back to the end of the tunnel, and everything was back to normal. No fog, no readings on the meter. The feeling was gone. The smell was gone. But it was pretty intense when we were there.
Did they get that on film, the experience that you're describing?
I heard from them one time after the whole thing, and their audio guy got a EVP saying, "Come closer," just before I saw the light. And I asked them about the film and everything else, and I've never heard back from them, never seen it anywhere. So I don't know whatever happened to that.
They didn't want to bring it out. This is one of those things that you expect the movie version of it they'll find buried 10 years later along with the bones of the crew, or something like that. Not that I'm wishing them ill, just it would make a nice story if you did find that. So what other places do you recommend for people to go to experience things like this? Are there other areas that are supposed to be haunted that you've not experienced that in, but a lot of other people have that you know about in Columbus?
There are plenty of haunted locations all over the city. You have Camp Chase out there on Sullivan Avenue. The Lady in Gray is supposed to haunt the cemetery there. She was a Confederate sympathizer. And flowers are supposed to mysteriously appear on the grave of Benjamin Allen. There's actually two Benjamin Allens in the cemetery, and the one from Tennessee is the one where the flowers appear. I've been there, and I've seen flowers on the grave, but they were plastic, so I doubt the ghost would leave plastic.
Well, it might be a more budget-conscious ghost who wants the longer-lasting flowers there instead of that. So the final question I have is the Ohio State University has a couple of times I've heard people suggesting there's some paranormal activity there. Tell me about your experiences with that. Have you run into discussions of paranormal activity at Ohio State?
I've talked to a couple people, and I have heard of the legends and things like that. Like, I think there's supposed to be a caveman or something that haunts, or is it Orton Hall, the geology building?
A caveman in the geology building.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I have never heard from anyone with a firsthand experience at OSU. It's always just been hearsay, or this is the legend, and things like that. But I've not heard of a firsthand experience from OSU.
So mostly the frightening things are firsthand with organic chemistry, say things like the other classes like that have a high fail rate. So I also notice one of the areas on your website is you do investigations. People can call you, and you'll come out and do investigations at some points. Is this still something you do?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We still do that. We do private homes and businesses, just anywhere there's paranormal activity. And people, say, "Oh, do you have to be here at night?" and stuff like that. And I tell them, whenever you're experiencing things is when I want to be there.
Okay.
So we do still do that.
So what happens usually on something like that? What's the common experience that you have on going out to see something like that?
They're all different. I mean,
Okay.
we'll get some people have experiences where they just want validation. Some people are scared of the things that are going on in their homes. And we go there. We're kind of a observe and report type of group.
Right.
So we'll set up our equipment, cameras and detectors and audio recorders, and we'll run it for a few hours depending on, what's going on there. And then we'll go over all of that and go back if we find anything and let the homeowner or business owner know, okay, this is what we found. We keep all of that information private unless they give us permission to post it on our website, because a lot of people don't, want to have themselves associated with it still today. I think the proliferation of all the TV shows and things like that have helped people be more open to it.
Okay.
When I first started doing this 15 years ago, there weren't very many TV shows or anything like that, and it was more of a taboo kind of subject with people. And now, when you talk about ghost hunting and telling someone your story, usually they're like, "Oh, okay, I had this weird thing happen to me," or let me show you a picture that I got that has something weird in it.
Okay. Well, I really thank you, Jason Robinson, for coming in and talking to me about this today. And again, the website is ohioexploration.com, right? And people can go there and check out a lot of. You've got a ton of pictures there. You've got audio from some of your Ohio explorations of the paranormal, right? The EVPs and all that kind of stuff.
All kinds of EVPs, video, photos, thousands of photos on the site. So,
well, it sounds great. Well, thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you.
Cool. Anything I didn't ask about that you wanted to talk about? I can edit that back in. Sure. You can get a drink of water. Jason. Oh.
I can tell you about what an EMF is.
Sure. So tell me about some of the equipment that you take with you when you go out into the field. You've got a fancy-looking piece of equipment right there.
Yeah, this is called a Mel meter, and it's a EMF detector. Okay. People associate electromagnetic fields with the paranormal. We've actually tracked EM fields as things were happening. I don't know if it's the EM field that makes the ghost or the ghost that makes the EM field. I just know when it's higher, things happen.
Okay.
But we use these meters to be able to... let me say that again. We use these meters to be able to... see when the field increases. This particular model also has a thermometer built in. It has a little point on the top here, and that detects the real-time ambient air temperature. So as the air temperature changes, we can see that. And cold temperatures and sometimes hot temperatures are also associated with the paranormal and spikes. And we've tracked high EMF fields with a cold spot. We could put our meter in, it would go up, my hand would get cold and we'd see the reading. I'd pull my hand back and the reading would go down, the temperature would be back, and my hand would feel normal again.
So what is your reading right now in because we're in Fort Hayes, which is an old building, and hopefully you're going to find that a ghost is going to come through the wall, something like.
Right now it's 66.1 degrees and no Evenfield.
All right. Well, you'll have to come back at midnight or something
Yeah.
along those lines and find out, because this is an old Civil War encampment, if I remember correctly, and the
Yeah.
shot tower is right next door. Now it's a school for the most
Right.
part, so people still suffering with education. No, kidding.
And it's supposed to be haunted too.
It is. Have you been
Yeah.
here to see any of the
I
hauntings?
have never been here to do an investigation or anything else like that. I came here once, I think, back in high school or something like that on a field trip or middle school. But other than today, that was the only time I've ever been here.
Okay. Well, hopefully on the way out or something, you'll pass through a cold spot. It might just be Dan Michalko, the station manager, looking for cash, so people to donate.